What is going on, everybody? It's JT here with JT Invests in You. And today we have C. Will with Passive Income Network and David over with Crypto for Change here to talk about all things Algorand. So without further ado, let's bring them on in. Let's see. What's going on, guys?
What is going on?
Yo,
All
what's
right.
good? What is good?
How's everyone doing?
I can't complain. Hopefully, we start seeing some green soon. Then it'd be
Yeah.
better, like your background there.
Yeah,
Wasn't it
yeah.
red last time?
Oh, I should have changed mine green. Yeah,
I'm
yeah. We
trying
in
to
the red. We in the red.
I'm trying to summon the good spirits back here with the green background. That's for sure. Um, let's see. We don't have too many people in the chat just yet, but anyone that is listening, if you just leave your chats in the chat box, of course, we will bring them up on screen and get to them as usual. But we have a great show planned. There's so much going on in the Algorand space. Of course, Algorand itself just got verified on Twitter, which, a long time coming for that one. That's for
I
sure.
gotta say, it's about damn time.
Yeah,
Oh
that's
man,
huge. That's very huge.
unbelievable. So then we also can talk about, I mean, that's a perfect segue into ASA verification. There's a lot of misunderstanding on what these verified assets really mean. There's two tiers of verification, but we can talk about those. There's been a lot of rug pulls on the Algorand network itself. And then we can talk about Algorand and Ethereum interoperability. There's a lot going on there between C3 protocol and Milko Media. I think I'm pronouncing that right. I have really no idea. We could talk about Algorand governance, of course, ex-governors, expert governors, Yieldly updates, and so on. So let's just get started. Of course, let's just jump right into ASA verification and rug pulls. What have you guys been seeing out there?
Go ahead,
I
David.
think I think from what I've been seeing, and obviously this is coming from someone who on my channel I mainly talk. I would not to say just like the big dogs or something like that, but I do normally talk the assets that I've done enough research on that like I know the team. I can do a little research, find more out about them and what they're building, and usually they have a product. I think what you're seeing, and I'll even say I know we were going to get into Opulus and its big slide we saw. But I think what you're seeing is a lot of hype before product. And, all this hype gets a lot of people excited to jump in, to invest and hope to see kind of what Opulus did at the start, going from something really low to really high. And I think that's where you get some of these rug pulls. And then, you just throw in oh, they're verified on Algorand, or it's got a check mark on Tiny Man. So that means this thing's legit and it's going to moon. And it's just not true. I think people need to really take a second look at doing research and finding out not only just what it's trying to accomplish, but is it really going to solve anything that we need solved, or is it just a bunch of fluff?
Yep.
Facts.
Yep.
Like
Yep.
it was so bad. Reading on Twitter about I guess it was three rug pulls if I'm correct, like kind of back to back. Again, what David said is the people are hyped and they don't understand how to do a proper research. And I talk about this all the time on my channel. It doesn't give the most views ever when I'm just talking real education, but those are the videos that people need to watch. It's like a checklist, like we would talk about who is the founder, are they reachable? Can we talk to the team? You know, uh, I got a good example like right now, like the Robinhood app. If y'all use the Robinhood app and go to the IPO access and you see all the red charts, that is the reason why you don't ape into something, right? Because it's usually going to go down until, like what David said, we figure out what the product actually is and can they, accomplish what they set out to accomplish. And that's what people don't understand. They see 10x in their mind, and that's it.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. I mean, and it's an important thing to bring up. Let's see. Yeah, I'm going to bring this up right here. And, Headline Crypto, they wrote, let's see, let's get this out of the way. And let's move us up over to the side. Check for official Algorand verification, but do not base a portfolio decision on Algo Explorer verification. Uh, Algo Explorer only verifies that the website is accurate as specified in the ASA metadata. So, I mean, there's a lot of people that just assume that these check marks must mean that this project is relatively legit. But all it really means is that you're getting the actual token that is advertised. Because some of these tokens have 30 copycat tokens that you can find on TinyMan. So sometimes it's really hard to know, which token is actually with which project. So verification does not mean it's a good project. It does not mean that the owners aren't going to pull the liquidity. It does not mean that this project can't fail. It just means that it's the token that you're trying to get.
Right. And I mean, even kind of like with what we said at the start, Algorand just got verified on Twitter, Does that mean now Algorand's worth investing in? And before it had that check mark, it wasn't worth investing in? I mean,
Hey, unfortunately, it might actually bring in some. Well, fortunately, but unfortunate because it's just kind of dumb. But fortunately, it might bring in some people actually because I mean, a lot of people
Right.
do take those check marks a lot more seriously, as we're seeing play out, in this situation. But on a much larger scale, people do take those verified check marks probably more seriously than they should.
Yeah, because when we think of verification with the Algorand Foundation, like you just broke down, it's two separate situations. What I was learning to do too is kind of follow the money. Like, did they also give those people money? And that's
Yep.
what we call accelerator. If are they in the acceleration program? Have they been given money? Another checkpoint to think about. You know,
Yeah,
basically.
no, absolutely. I mean, it's just one of many things to look at in your decision making. I wouldn't, definitely don't ape into any new coin just because it just got a check mark. In fact, I mean, it it seems like Loud DeFi or LoudFi, whatever it is, they kind of did that exact thing. They got verified. Their token went up like
Yeah.
100%, and then they yanked most of their liquidity. I mean, they're given like a little sob story now, but whether it was on purpose or not, I mean, it's either it was either malintent or complete incompetence. So I mean, either way, I totally
Yeah.
wouldn't
I,
trust the situation.
I'll say another thing is like I think about Opolis. We talked about this I think last week, but or was that last week? Weeks be flying. But we talked about this last week. It was like, do the LoudFi owners have any history of running a business or doing anything beyond this one project? And if we
Yeah.
can't answer that question, that also puts a little caution for me.
Here's one thing I would say, and this just goes because, let's be honest, I feel like what's the age of people who are investing in these crypto projects? And like, it's probably young people. It's probably people who are Robinhood traders. It's people who are, you're
Millennials.
not, yeah, you're not seeing your seasoned veterans aping into these things. It's young
Mm,
people just like they're aping into NFTs. And I'll say
yeah.
this, just because an NFT has the name Algo in it, or just because a DeFi project has Fi at the end of it, like
Yep.
or a name where it's catchy, does not make it a legitimate investment that you should put your money into. I think that's just something that I mean, I feel like that's obvious, but when you look at what's happening and when you see how many people get frustrated with these rug pulls, why would you put your money there yet? I mean, they have no product. They're telling you what they're going to do, but they have
It's
nothing,
crazy.
and it's yet to be seen really. And then you even see with Tiny Man, a good project and still bad things can happen. So you just can't just it's like the monkey who's
Shit,
throwing darts on.
yearly too. Like communication really is huge in this damn industry. And yearly did the
People
same
taking
thing, though
advice
they're
from
verified and accelerated.
Yeah, you got people taking advice from Twitter accounts with 23 followers. People are
Yeah,
like,
don't
Hey,
if
well, I
they don't
mean,
show their face, that's kind of a red flag for me.
right? Well, now
Like show
everybody's got
your face.
NFTs.
Yeah,
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 no,
yeah,
one hundred
yeah.
percent,
That's true.
hundred
That's true.
percent. Yeah, I mean, everyone is behind a random profile picture, but still, usually, if it's a legitimate project, you can go find, LinkedIn profiles or some sort of article written about the founder or some sort of interview given by them. Unless if you can't find any sort of public information on a project or on a founder of a project, then you really should at least wait. Wait to see if that information comes out before you invest any money. But
We
let's
like, do
just
your
move.
three favorite YouTubers talk about it? Nah.
Yeah, exactly. Let's all hype something up right now. Uh, so how about we move on to Algorand and Ethereum interoperability, because I think this is going to be an absolutely huge thing for Algorand. It's going to be an absolute game changer, not only for Algorand really, but probably the entire ecosystem, because Ethereum has all of the liquidity or most of the liquidity. And Algorand, in our opinion, or at least my opinion, I want to speak for both of you, but is the better technology. So if we could bridge some of that liquidity, or heck, all of that liquidity, most of that liquidity over to the Algorand ecosystem, that would be absolutely huge. So I want to get your take on that, and then I want to show a couple things.
You can go first, C. Will.
Well, I think that is huge. At first, I was a little skeptical about it, trying to deal with Ethereum so much, but I do understand. I was researching ETH Denver, and I'm kind of considering going if everything works out. But ETH Denver is essentially Algorand is like sponsoring it, and what they're trying to do is essentially tap in with the Ethereum developers who do have all the market share, as JT just said, and then connect them with Algorand And I know it's a C3 protocol is like a a layer 2 version to use Algorand as a layer 2 as a scaling solution. So it does make sense to bring in that market share all back to Algorand, because once they find out what we find out, this tech is better, you could just use Ethereum on Algorand. Then boom, developers are headed our way. That's what I'm thinking.
For me, I mean, obviously interoperability between the blockchains, it is something that we're going to be moving towards with, you don't have to choose one specific chain. You can move your funds however you wish. I mean, it would be interesting to see how projects that are already on Ethereum would bridge over, some of the bigger ones like Compound, Aave, Uniswap, stuff like that, how it would even be, integrated using Algorand's tech. Whereas, you already see with Matic, they're doing, zero knowledge proofs and stuff like that. Like they're already starting to use, I guess you could say, Algorand tech, or, what Silvio, invented. But yeah, for me, it's even, I know we're going to get into this news later. It's more of the, like, I like what we're seeing in El Salvador, but I don't want to jump too far ahead because I know that that's going to be a topic we're going to hit on here in a little bit.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. I mean, I will say that that interoperability itself is probably one of the bigger things to happen. But I want to just get over to what I want to share real quick. And this is a tweet from Arlington Capital. Let's see if I can pull it up. Here we go. Arlington Capital portfolio protocols demonstrating incredible versatility on Algorand. We've got C3 protocol leveraging Algorand as an Ethereum L2 via state proofs, and Milko Meta bringing EVM sidechains rollups to Algorand. And then we have C3 protocol over here progressing fast towards MetaMask sending orders to C3's matching engine, and trade settlement happening in Algorand before updating the state back to Ethereum. And as you can see, here's a picture of that looking right here. For anyone familiar with Ethereum, that's a perfect MetaMask transaction.
Yep.
And I just want to do a quick read from something Arlington Capital wrote about C3, because it's something that it's made me super bullish on the Algorand ecosystem. So I just want to do a quick read on this. And it goes, C3's vision is to build a layer for cross-margined and cross-chain trading in DeFi. Liquidity today is fractured across many venues, protocols, and blockchains. Instead, users should be able to trade from a single global account plugged into other blockchains, managing their positions and collateral from a single hub. And that's amazing because it makes complete sense. If you could just use one single hub, one single app, kind of like the reason we're all excited about DeFi, or a lot of people are, if you could just use one single hub to access all of these DeFi protocols across all blockchains and have it settle on Algorand, that's absolutely incredible. Fragmented trading is capital inefficient and carries unnecessary risk. A position on protocol X is completely siloed from a position on protocol Y. It cannot be used to collateralize new positions. Profit and loss is localized, siloed protocol by protocol. C3 wants to instead make profit and loss global, covering all positions across blockchains and protocols. And it's a super big endeavor, of course. But it's just something that has me super, super excited for this ecosystem because, as I just said, I mean, that would be the game changer that Algorand needs, because no other blockchain is doing this. And of course, C3 protocol is using state proofs, which is an Algorand native technology. No other blockchain has this technology currently.
Why don't you go real quick, JT, and just kind of give an explanation of what state proofs are for those in the chat?
I wish I could give a technical description of it, but state proofs are just basically a way for Algorand and another chain to interact and you pretty much give each other information that's crucial to, and communicate between each other in a trustless way. It's not the exact same thing as a bridge like ALGO Mint,
right.
but effectively it can be used in a similar sort of trustless bridge manner.
Yeah.
My only thing so far, this idea sounds amazing. I just feel like Algorand's too fast for some of these like blockchains like Ethereum. So I wonder how, if an Ethereum transaction take 10 minutes and we're using, I guess, Algorand as a layer 2, how would that translate underneath?
Well, I was going through.
Answer for me.
I was going through a lot of C3 protocol's tweets, and the way they're describing it is all settlement happens on Algorand. So you're basically able to do Ethereum-based transactions without any gas settling in the speed of Algorand.
See, then what's the benefit to even having Ethereum? Because I've always seen the benefit for people who are using Ethereum and holding it is all the gas fees that are accumulated when people are doing those transactions go to pay the validator. So that's where I just feel like that whole thing would kind of fall on itself. Like if
I I personally think it would be more of a reason why, sorry to interrupt, it would be more of a reason why people would move over to Algorand because they would see the benefit of it. I don't think in the long run, because I think you're right. They'd be like, why even, what's
Use
the point of
Ethereum.
Ethereum if
yeah,
this is better? And I think this is one of the many ways to convince the world that it is better.
yeah, it's like
Because the only
Bitcoin
thing I know,
mining now. Like
Ethereum.
if there was no mining of Bitcoin, why would people care much about it if they couldn't earn it by solving the cryptographic puzzle and whatnot and try to earn that future money and that gold 2.0, whatever you want to call it. I don't know, I just feel like it's more for me at least, when I used Ethereum before coming to Algorand, I haven't looked back at Ethereum. I don't use it at all. I
I
see
know
it as
me
archaic.
either. I avoid it.
And I think if we think back to Decipher, I forget which one of the bulls. It could have been Michael, or it could have been the Mooch. But he kind of said, there were so many big, web-based things before Google and before, some of the ones we see today, even like social media. There was MySpace. There was all these other things before it. But then something trumped it, and it didn't. There wasn't this like coexistive environment where they both just grew. It was no, one took over and ran. I'm still on the belief case that that's what we're going to see. Like, and it could be a few chains, but honestly, I don't see, like, outside of just total volume locked, and obviously the amount of money it makes the elite, people who had a lot of Ethereum early on. Who does Ethereum benefit? You can't use that. That's why people like in Zone with what they're building, they're not building on Ethereum because they know nobody in their region of the earth is going to pay over $1 for gas fees. Nonetheless, some of the expensive gas fees you see, even Opulus got mad. I was supposed to have an interview with Lee last week. It's pushed to this coming week, but he had to deal with the whole, sending the tokens to all the holders, and he had to pay thousands upon thousands of dollars because the gas fees. That's why he said he's going back to Algorand. I think that's why he's bridged back to Yodlee. He's realizing, you know what? I was trying to do both, but Ethereum sucks.
Shit, yeah. I mean,
I agree that a lot of new projects are figuring out that Ethereum sucks, but there's also just there's still a strong base. It's much like how I personally don't think Bitcoin's the number one technology in the space, but it still has a stranglehold on the entire space. So, I mean, as much as I agree with everything you're saying, I still think protocols like this are an absolute game changer. And to get back to your other point about the four bulls at Decipher, I mean, we had one of the people from Arlington Capital there, and I just want to share something that Ninos from Arlington Capital wrote about C3 protocol, and that is they will plug into other, and this touches on that chain of chains discussion that they had at Decipher. And if anyone hasn't watched that video, go to Algorand's website, YouTube page, find the Decipher videos, watch the one on state proofs, watch the chain of chain ones, and definitely, of course, finish watching this one. And so Nino says they will plug into other ecosystems using novel interoperability technology unique to Algorand. Trustless bridges are coming, and C3's application layer could spawn a cross-chain ecosystem of decentralized trading. Today, Algorand lives in its own kingdom, isolated from other ecosystems, just as localized positions are fractured across different chains and protocols. C3 could bring the benefit of Algorand's L1 to the rest of crypto, propelling Algorand as the chain of chains. C3 is taking a hybrid approach to protocol design. The club will host trading on an off-chain L2, leveraging CeFi type performance, but transactions will ultimately settle on the Algorand main chain at each block. C3 leverages the decentralization and security guarantees of Algorand's L1, with 4-second settlement times allowing for a quick migration between L2 to L1. C3 protocol captures our thesis that Algorand will be the chain that bridges DeFi and TradFi. C3 could become a single global account and profit and loss universe for DeFi, closing the gap between the CeFi TradFi trading experience and self-sovereign, non-custodial DeFi. And Ninos always just has a great way with words, and every time I read something that he writes, I just get 10 times more bullish on the space. So I hope everyone bared with me with that, but I just wanted to share that with everyone else and hopefully make everyone just as bullish as I have been lately.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
and I definitely think
okay.
I wasn't saying that like earlier that, this interoperability is not that big of a deal. Like early on, I think it will be huge. And I think it will be big for just the entire crypto space to grow. But I do believe that as it grows, there will become a dominant blockchain. And I do believe that's still to be Algorand.
Yeah, me too. I think Algorand, just by technology alone, Solana crashed again, I think recently. Cardano stalled again, so they're kind of just eliminating themselves. And a play to basically, but a play to absorb Ethereum's market share. I think interoperability is the only way, because people like Jamie Dimon and them who really support Ethereum, they're not even going to try to look a different direction because Ethereum is where their bag is at. And I feel like if Algorand slowly, integrates with Ethereum, then they can open their blinders a little bit more to see a different use case and technology.
Right. I
I
mean,
mean,
you're not going to be able to see the adoption for the whole blockchain and the crypto space grow unless it's at a level that people can actually enter in
Yeah.
at. And the only
yeah.
way you get that, it may be that Ethereum, because of how popular it is and how much it's in the limelight, that they get onboarded to Ethereum, even though
Yeah.
it may be using Algorand as a layer two. They don't even
That's
know they're
yeah.
using Algorand, but then as people dig and they do more research, that's when they find out, okay, Algorand's the one that I should be using, and then you just straight come on over. And that's where I'm saying, like, it could help onboard a lot of people into the space by lowering fees, lowering that gas. But I'd
Hmm.
still be interested to see if you lower that gas, what is the point of Ethereum? Because right now, that's what everyone is making that money.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
No, I agree
Yeah.
with that. I agree with that last point. However, I mean, one of the main reasons a lot of projects still build on Ethereum is because that's where all the liquidity is. I mean,
Yeah.
this is a
It
very
is this.
illiquid space over in the Algorand ecosystem currently, only with, a couple million on some apps, 100 million, couple 100 million total in TVL, depending on the week. Um, so it's nothing compared to these billions of dollars that are on these other chains. So I mean that is one of the biggest reasons why bridges, at least temporarily, or interoperability at this level, could be great. But if you also think long term, because as much as I agree that we'll probably reach a point where we have one, two, or three dominating blockchains, there will also be all of these private chains, because I personally think
Mm.
companies will create their own blockchains. They'll have their own private chains for their own private use cases that
Yeah.
will
yeah,
also need some sort of interoperability technology so those private chains can interact with these main chains. So I do think long run, I mean, we're thinking short sighted with the interoperability between Ethereum and Algorand, but in the
Mm.
long term, I mean, we're going to have interoperability between Algorand and a lot of other private chains that will exist in the future. So, I'm super bullish on the technology, and I think this current application that we're reading is only just the beginning of how it will be used. So I'm totally excited for that.
Yeah, for sure. Interoperability is the key word right now. So make sure y'all go look that up.
Go look that up. Let's move on to governance. Does that sound
Yep.
good to you guys? How
yeah,
about it?
Yes,
do it.
sir.
See
All
if
right.
there's any questions you want to check out in the chat that we missed or that maybe we missed while going through that.
I haven't seen too many yet. I have one starred up for later on, but I haven't seen too many yet. If you guys have any questions, just throw them into the chat. There wasn't too many in here earlier when I said that. But going into Algorand governance, let me just zoom in on this so you'll see it when I pull it up. And here we
Got
are.
super governors. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, super governors. Yeah, we've got the
Let's go.
XGov platform. So this is a super interesting thing. Let's see. I'm going to just do a quick read and then we can discuss. So, creating a tier of expert governors. We propose the creation of a new tier of expert governors, XGovs. These governors via These governors via decentralized aggregation mechanisms, such as a DAO, will have the power to put forward measures for our quarterly governance votes. These measures will still be voted on by our current governance platform, which will not change. The new XGov mechanism will require expert governors to commit to governance for a longer period of time, of 1 year or more. The proposing power of XGovs will be determined by the stake that they commit to governance as well as their experience. And experience is described as the number of years of their XGov participation. And this leads me to believe that the longer you stay in governance, so maybe in 2 or 3 years, your status as a governor is much stronger than your status of a governor now. For example, a few years of experience of a governor, automatically measured by participation in a DAO, could double the proposing power of each staked algo. If approved, the exact XGov rules will be discussed with the community with the goal of rewarding longer-term commitment to governance and to decentralize the ecosystem. The experience timer will go into effect once the program takes effect. And that's pretty much it. It also goes into saying that because this is such a meaningful decision, the voting session has been extended to 28 days, so it'll run from February 1st to February 28th. But yeah, what do you guys think of that?
Off the top, I'm loving it, because it's going to give opportunity for the people like myself who's very committed to the Algorand protocol to put more lock value in there and to actually be so committed that I can't leave. I love it. I love it.
My initial reactions, I kind of highlighted a few things as I was reading through it. One of the big things was that in the second paragraph there was saying the proposing power of the ex-governors will be determined by the stake that they commit to governance as well as their experience, i.e. the number of years as their ex-gov participation. It is cool that they are giving the ability that, okay, if you don't have as much, but say you're early on, say this gets passed, and you're one of the first people and you're like, you know what, I see the long-term vision. I'm going to put all my algos in it for a year, 2 years, whatever the time period is. And say 5 years down the road, you may not have as much as a whale who enters the market in at that point and buys a lot of the, say then Algorand starts to really blow up and people want to control it and have power. Well, your voting power may be stronger than theirs because you've been in since the beginning. So I do like that. But right after that, it says, a few years of experience of governor automatically measured by participation in a DAO could double the proposing power of each algo staked. And then it says, if approved. Well, I guess the if approved just means I didn't see the period.
Pass this, yeah.
I thought it just said if approved. I was wondering who's going to ultimately approve the XGovs, what they're voting up to actually get voted in. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
you mean like a private vote within that vote to get the vote
out exactly there? Is it almost like a club that none of the other governors get to see and then it just kind of comes out? Because
it would have to be. It said a DAO,
right? So I think that's interesting because then that it begs the question, how decentralized is it then? At that point, couldn't it kind of become centralized with what gets voted in?
Well, I'll say as long as Coinbase, because I've seen something that Coinbase, is definitely participating. So I feel like one of those whales, they always will have a pool. Basically, it's like that. They got a like with our politics, the electoral college vote. Their vote is going to mean more based on their volume and all the people who give it away. But this, I feel like, will give us an opportunity to compete.
I think it ultimately depends on the information that they come out with, because as I said, they're going to release more information so we can discuss it in detail. But it'll ultimately depend on how much each thing are weighted. So if participation in governance is weighted much heavier than the amount staked, because otherwise you could lend itself to being a governance structure for whales, really. I mean, Padre Algo over here, he's making a great point. He's saying XGov is simply multiplying the power of whales who can afford to lock up more algos to the speculation game. And although I do agree and understand that point, I also think there's a possibility, depending on the ratio and how the system is weighted, that if your participation in the ecosystem and in governance is weighted much more heavier than your stake, it could lend itself to, as you were saying, David, a situation where the little guy has a lot more say because their participation is worth more than their stake.
Yeah.
But sorry to say, but see, Will, you made a great point too, that some of these whales can participate forever, so they're also going to be experienced governors. So I don't know. I mean, I guess that's why we're having this discussion, because this one isn't easy for me.
No, it's a good one. So shout out to Algorand Foundation. I would have not have thought about that, and I want to say I'm happy they didn't say, "Hey, we're doing a governance token," because that's what I first thought. I was like, XGov. Oh no. So that's cool. But
Here's
yeah,
another thing I would say is, and this is just thinking about me, and maybe obviously, I'm sure I already know there are investors. I know there's people I have talked to into not only buying Algorand and seeing the value in it long term, but also I've mentioned about governance, and they are right now governors. So for them, and even for me to some extent, what would I like? I'm probably, even if I would be one of these X govs, maybe years down the road, but if it's next quarter or something that they announce this, or a year from now, like I don't even know what I would even formulate to bring up as a voting measure. So like there's people who are going to possibly be these X govs that literally will never probably propose a vote. They're only going to see it as an investment thing where, oh, instead of locking my algos up once every 3 months, I get X percentage. I can lock it up once a year and get more. I would assume more. There's no, obviously, we still got to wait for more details, but it's like, I really like, to me, it's like, I think more people, the people who are going to be proposing these votes are probably going to be the whales and the people who have, the larger stakes, anyways, just because your average investor who's in Algorand, I just don't feel like they're going to be, I don't know. I just think like, what would I propose in this DAO to be voted on by the,
you would propose slashing. Remember?
Right?
That's what you would propose. No, I'm playing. Yeah, that is a tough one. I don't know at the moment what I would propose, because I could propose more stuff for Opulus because I like making music as of right now. So like I have more thoughts on that than this. I just don't want this situation to co-opt the whole community where we don't actually get to make any decision. That's my only thing I don't want. But I love this conversation.
Yeah, there's a really interesting balance to be had because I really do like the idea of having like tiered commitment levels because some people can't even commit for 3 months or that scares them. So maybe they can commit for a month and get a little bit less rewards. And some of us are really committed and want to lock our algos up for a year or two, and I think they should be rewarded for doing so. But I also do have a concern that the vote itself, not the rewards, but the vote itself could be become a little bit more centralized with something like this. I mean, like I said, we have to wait for more information to come out because if it's weighted much heavier on your participation and they do have some well thought out ways to keep this from going into the hands of whales, then we'll have to wait and see. Otherwise, I guess it's just a wait and see, really.
Yeah. And even, they said that the foundation supports option A, which that means Coinbase then supports option A because they've already said they're going to be going with whatever the foundation goes with. So, I mean, that's already a lot of votes going for A. So, I mean, I'm on the side that when this does come to vote, depending upon maybe what the further details are, I mean, I almost feel like this is probably going to go through.
Yeah, maybe, but there was a lot of split whales last time too, so you don't know what's going to happen at the end. I feel like at the end it was kind of surprising last time too, because I would have thought the whales would have went for the other one. Exactly, because it would have benefited them in the long. But there were plenty of whales that were split.
Yeah, but
they probably were a little nervous about
getting. They wanted to be able to sell and get out.
Yeah, exactly. Because like if last minute some good opportunity comes, a lot of people are gonna make that move. What is governance APY right now? Like 9 to 15%,
9-10%.
Yeah, exactly. So depending on who it is, they'll leave for the yield if they find something better. So I think we will never know again until the last day of who's gonna drop out or not.